10 seconds. That's all it takes. A sharp word, a cold look, a door slammed in your face. And then, 10 hours of your life are gone, swallowed by a ghost. What if the difference between a ruined day and total composure was just a 90-second fuse? A fuse that burns out on its own. But there you are, standing over the sparks with a box of matches, relighting the fire every time it hits the end. Here is the hard truth. Emotional suffering is a habit. Neurologically speaking, the chemical wave of a trigger, that heat in your chest, the racing heart, is designed to wash out of your system in exactly 1.5 minutes. That's it. 90 seconds. But we keep ourselves drowning. We replay the insult. We rehearse the argument we should have won. It's like a computer trying to run a self-cleaning cycle while you frantically mash the refresh button until the whole system crashes. Think about the last time a coworker was rude to you. In that instant, your brain floods with survival hormones. That's the 90-second wave. But then, the story begins. They always do this. Who do they think they are? Suddenly, you're still exhausted and bitter 2 hours later. When you master this window, you realize you hold the remote. You can let the chemistry evaporate, or you can feed the storm. We all know that person. The one who remains the eye of the hurricane while everyone else is losing their cool. They don't have better luck than you. They just have a strategy. You know, I've realized something. We often think we're the ones driving. But really, we're just passengers in our own skin. At least, until we decide not to be. You aren't a piece of hardware. They really know how to get under my skin. We say this like we're helpless machines, like we're being operated by someone else's hand. But nobody can play a song on an instrument you haven't tuned and left out on the front porch for the world to pluck at. This is the puppet master myth, the idea that outsiders have power over your internal state. They don't. Mechanisms only work when they're wired to a power source. Those buttons people push, they're just unaddressed traumas. They're personal values being stepped on. When someone agitates you, they aren't just attacking. They are effectively handing you a map of the territory inside you that still needs the work. Your colleague drops that snide remark, the one that always pushes you over the edge. Stop. Freeze. Ask yourself, what is the root of this tension? Perhaps it echoes a hypercritical relative. Suddenly, that colleague isn't a manipulator. They are a flashlight, exposing a sensitive spot. When you stop acting like a machine, you become the pilot. No one gets a vote on your mood. Only you. Think about the person who irritates you most. What they provoke in you has absolutely nothing to do with them. Here is a concept that will shift everything. What you call anger isn't the core. Anger is just a suit of spiked armor, heavy and cold, that we throw on to hide the fact that we are shivering underneath. It makes us feel solid, but it stops anyone from reaching the heart, where the rejection, the anxiety, and the inadequacy actually live. When someone critiques your work and you get defensive, you aren't truly angry. You are wounded. They failed to acknowledge your effort. Rage feels powerful. Vulnerability feels weak. So, rage steps up as the spokesperson. Your spouse forgets your birthday. You erupt. A shouting match begins. But beneath the volume, a sense of neglect. Am I even a priority to you? When you speak to the neglect instead of venting the rage, the dynamic pivots. I felt overlooked builds a bridge. You are always so selfish builds a wall. Train yourself to spot the emotion hiding under the mask. Openness repairs. Aggression just stacks the bricks higher. Think back to your last major blowout. What was the fragile feeling hiding in the shadows? Between the event and the reaction, there is a gap. In that gap, you are free. In that gap, you are king. Yet most of us leave the door wide open. We let the wind blow the furniture around. Most people don't even know this clearing exists. Viktor Frankl found this truth in the horrors of a death camp. No matter the conditions, you retain one right: the right to decide your outlook. The provocation hits. Your veins fill with chemicals. But before you lash out, there is a window. When you inhabit that window, you become the architect of a life you actually want to live. Someone sends you a biting text. Your gut says, strike back. Be witty. Be mean. But in that heartbeat, before you tap send, ask, which version of me will I be proud of tomorrow? That inquiry is your power. It's your psychological trump card. It is the difference between a leaf tossed by the gale or the mountain standing still against it. Think about the person who never seems shaken. They have mastered the space between the hit and the reflex. What if you could watch your emotions like fish in a tank? You see the colors, you see the speed, but you never feel like you're drowning in the water. Deep within you is a spectator, a part of your consciousness that can watch the storm without becoming the rain. You observe. Tension is building. My pulse is accelerating. But you don't become the tension. You just watch it pass. This spectator is eternally still. It thinks, I am experiencing a thought, rather than, this thought is the truth. Your child rolls their eyes. Instead of snapping, engage the spectator. I notice a wave of annoyance cresting. Now you're analyzing the wave instead of being pulled under by it. From here, you can choose. The spectator is your emotional armor, light as silk, but stronger than steel. You can feel anything without it dictating your movements. Recall a moment when you stayed cool while everyone else panicked. You were using your spectator then. Use it by design now. Difficult people aren't roadblocks. Think of them as free personal trainers for your soul, pointing out where your piece is still too thin to carry its own weight. This shift changes everything. Every taxing individual is a lesson. That overbearing supervisor? They're your coach for endurance. That nosy neighbor? They're your sparring partner for boundaries. A trainer pushes you through the burn to make you faster. These emotional coaches build your grit. Your boss sends the 15th urgent request. Don't think, they're out to get me. Try, they're helping me refine my ability to stay centered under fire. This isn't an attack. It's a high-intensity workout. Respond with analytical calm. What data will help you feel most secure about this timeline? When you view critics as coaches, you stop being the victim. You start being the MVP. Every friction point is a chance to level up. Look at your most draining relationship. What muscle is that person helping you build? If you're finding value in this, engage with the video. Share it. hit the bell. Stay tuned. I'm curious about your experiences. Leave a note in the comments. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They are the shoreline that tells the ocean where to stop so the land can finally breathe. You need to protect your battery without becoming a fortress. Healthy limits are like the skin on your hands. They let you touch the world while keeping the bacteria out. You simply need to be transparent. I hear that you're upset, but I don't engage in shouting. Let's reconnect when the volume goes down. This isn't an attack, it's an assertion. Your colleague vents but rejects every solution. Don't soak up the stress. Set a perimeter. I value our friendship, but I can only give 10 minutes to venting today. You are shielding your health. You are staying available. Limits keep your tank full, so you can actually help, rather than burning out like a dry wick in someone else's chaos. You cannot water a garden with a dry well. Who exhausts you? What filter would save your serenity? There is a difference between a tactical retreat and running away. One builds authority, the other builds fear. Frequently, the most dominant move is to walk away. It's not frailty, it's high intelligence. You're giving your nervous system a chance to de-escalate. You're letting the rational brain take the wheel. I need a moment to process this. Let's revisit this when I can give you a thoughtful answer. You aren't quitting, you're preparing. Your partner brings up a touchy subject the moment you walk in. Don't bite. Try, "This is vital, but I'm drained. Can we give this the attention it deserves after dinner?" You're showing respect for the issue and for yourself. Pauses stop the damage that takes months to fix. 5 minutes of quiet can prevent 5 days of apologizing. We've all blurted out something in a heat wave that we regretted by morning. Pauses delete those mistakes. Everyone needs a breather. Be an adult. Request the break. Don't just vanish. You wouldn't navigate a minefield without a detector, so why move through life without knowing your triggers? Your triggers aren't accidents. They follow a script. People who mimic a dismissive parent. Scenarios that feel like a repeat of failure. When you plot these patterns, you stop being caught off guard. This condescending tone reminds me of that teacher. No wonder I feel defensive. Awareness is your shield. When you spot the tripwire, you step over it. You don't set it off. Keep a trigger log for a week. When you feel a spike, write it down. Who was there? What was the catalyst? What old memory does it pull on? You will see the architecture. I get agitated by lateness. Joking insults bother me because of my brother. When you recognize the trap, you can prepare. Foresight turns a reflex into a choice. You become proactive. Everyone has sore spots. Most live in the dark about them. Understanding yours is the definition of maturity. What consistently rattles you? That thread is your path to autonomy. You can offer your heart without giving away your nervous system. You can be there for someone without getting lost in their storm. This is the equilibrium, an empathy filter. Keep your boundaries intact while your compassion stays active. Acknowledge the distress. Don't take it home. I see you're in a hard place. I'm here. How can I be useful without getting caught in the current? It's like being a rescuer on the shore. You reach out with the pole, but you don't jump into the whirlpool to drown alongside them. Your sibling calls every night to cry. Instead of letting their grief ruin your sleep, set the schedule. I want to be your rock. Let's do a deep dive call on Tuesdays. The rest of the week, let's keep it light. You are a lifeline. You are not a sacrifice. A burnt-out friend helps no one. We all know someone who carries the weight of the world. It's not helpful. It's just exhausting. How could you care for them without carrying them? You aren't reacting to what happened. You are reacting to your opinion of what happened. Rewrite the script. Rewrite your life. Every time a trigger hits, your brain crafts a story. They think I'm stupid. They're trying to undermine me. These are guesses, not evidence. What if their short response just means they have a headache? The narrative you endorse dictates the feeling you experience. Your boss sends a blunt email. Interpretation A. They're preparing to fire me. Result: panic. Interpretation B. They're in back-to-back meetings. Result: calm. Same text, different script, totally different biological outcome. When you edit your stories, you stop being a victim of assumptions. You become the director. Think about a recent conflict. What story did you tell? What is a second, equally possible story you could have chosen? Information is useless without application. Mastery comes from repetition, not perfection. Start with one tool. Use it for 7 days. When a spark hits, remember the 90-second rule. When you want to react, find the interval. Each time you choose a new path, you are physically changing your brain. For the next week, just try the Spectator. When you feel a surge, say, I am observing a feeling. That's it. By the second week, it will be natural. Minor, steady shifts lead to a total redesign. The person who is never bothered isn't a different species. They've just practiced these moves until they became reflexes. You have the same capacity. Everyone respects a person with emotional poise. Now, you have the manual. Imagine that, standing in the center of the storm, holding the only key to the lighthouse. You're watching the waves crash, but not a single drop, not one, ever touches your skin. I think you're finally ready for that.